This webinar is being live streamed.
There we go. Custom live stream. Yep, we are live.
Very
Hi,
exciting.
Ella. I got you in the
Hi.
back. Hello, everyone. We are just kicking off here. So if you're just hopping on our YouTube stream or the Zoom stream, stick around. We'll wait for a few more folks and then we'll kick it off. But welcome.
Welcome, welcome.
Let me see here. Yeah,
I feel like we should be like talking about the weather or something. Filler.
we definitely can. It always takes a few minutes for folks to kind of wander in as they're
Mhm,
coming in from different venues along that line for sure,
mhm.
which is super cool.
Cool, cool.
And everything. Make sure my camera is working. So what's your holiday plans, Ella? What are you doing?
My my holiday plans. I am gonna be deep cleaning. I feel like this year just has been like back to back to back travel. It's nice to be at home for once, which home for me is Virginia, so hello from Virginia. Yeah, so it'll be very chill, hopefully. What about you, Alan?
We are staying local, not going anywhere since we traveled for Thanksgiving. So
Hmm,
I need to feverishly finish my Christmas shopping. So
nice.
I got to order something today and get something for my wife. So
Nice.
nothing like last minute, hey,
Oh
here we
yeah,
go, and all that good stuff. So
right.
it's gonna be fun. So
Yeah.
if you're in our audience, if you're hopping on, drop a chat in the Zoom chat or the YouTube chat or Discord as well. We are on all the platforms,
Hmm.
and let us know what fun things are on your holiday wish list and all that good stuff.
I feel like
So
it's convenient now that we can order anything from home, right? So it's always nice.
So I was telling my son years ago how I used to get up at like 4 in the morning to go to Best Buy and wait in line to buy a GPU for that was on Black Friday sale. And then then all the
Oh,
companies started pushing earlier and earlier and earlier, and then they went to like,
right.
hey, we're just gonna stay open all night long on Thanksgiving to midnight. And then COVID hit and it kind of killed everything. And now they're all shut down on Thursday night and they're open normal on Friday
Mm,
because, that's just kind of what happens on that
yeah.
line.
Yeah.
Well,
Things
let's
have
go ahead and kick
changed.
off and everything. We'll do introductions and then get some questions from folks and we'll kind of go. Hello, everyone. My name's Alan Valancourt. I'm a solutions engineer over here at Tailscale, based here in sunny, well, cloudy now, South Carolina, and glad to be here on the webinar today. I've been here at Tailscale for just over 2.5 years. So it's been a lot of fun talking to customers, talking to our home labbers, people that are leveraging it and all that as well. Ella, throw it over to you.
Yeah. Hi, this is Ella. Hello and greetings from Virginia once again. It's also quite gloomy. Definitely the winter snowy mix is falling in. Yeah, I've been with Tailscale for a good part of this year. Also part of the solutions engineering team. Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, and thank you all for hopping on today as your middle of your week there in our ask an expert question. And Elle and I will do our best to answer your questions. And if there's something that we can't answer, we'll let you know. And then we'll feverishly hunt our docs and ask our really, really smart engineers on that line. But a few things from, webinar, YouTube, you got those that are on YouTube, you got the chat there. We've got some folks grabbing those questions and letting us know so we can answer that. We have Discord. So if you're not part of the Tailscale community Discord, you can go to discord.gg/Tailscale and join our community Discord, which is super awesome. And we also got an events channel in there. You can post some questions. And then for those that are on Zoom, there's a Q&A panel I believe on Zoom, somewhere in the menu that you can pop a question in there as well. So we're monitoring all the socials, everything else for that today. But today is for you to learn a little bit more about Tailscale. Tell us what you're doing cool with it, and ask the expert. And then I will defer all my questions to Ella and let her answer them all. No.
So Uno reverse. It'll be a ping pong.
There, there you go. I do see a question here, someone asking on YouTube. Let me read it here. It seems when I have my iPad tethered to my iPhone and both are connected to Tailscale, the iPad's internet stops. Turning off Tailscale brings internet back. Huh, you know what? I'll have to try that out. That's interesting. I do have an iPhone, I do have an iPad, and I run Tailscale on both. Actually, let me see if my iPad's maybe we're live. And no, my iPad's completely dead. So I'll have to try that out. So your iPad tethered to your iPhone for internet connectivity. Both are connected at the same time to Tailscale. The iPad's internet stops. Yeah, I mean, because you're tethering, and I am not an iPad and a tethering expert, but if you think about it, your iPad's internet access is being proxied through Tailscale. In essence, you've got and if you're running full tunnel, then you're running everything out. And I know when you tether off an iPhone, it does change some of the networking stuff, like Wi-Fi and a few other pieces there. Yeah, obviously your solution turning off Tailscale brings the internet back on that piece there. But as far as why that's happening, I don't know if that's just a Mac, an Apple ecosystem or networking setting that Apple has. But definitely interesting scenario. But because I have an iPad and an iPhone, I'm gonna try this out sometime maybe this week and see if I can duplicate it. It could be a bug. I don't know. It's an interesting question, but thank you for bringing it up, and I'll take a look at it.
Mhm. Yeah, and one thing to add to that, it also may be due to like DNS, right? We don't quite know, we can't quite say. But if you have further information on like what's the model make, what's the version of Tailscale you're running, things like that, and then share like a bug report, not on here, but through support or such, it'll also help us to get a better understanding of like how things are resolving, any other potential causes. But I also have an iPad, which is also dead, so I need to recharge that.
Yeah,
I also have
just charge
an
mine,
old
plug mine
iPhone,
in.
so yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll try that, and then maybe it'll be a fun video that Alex can do for us, or we can do with him. So
Yeah.
cool,
And
cool.
I'm sorry for those of you that were expecting Alex to be on today. You get Ella and I. Alex is on a much needed vacation, so him and his family are out for a couple weeks here. We love Alex and what he's done with our community, and we go to conferences, and even last week, Ella and I were actually at the same conference last week, and some folks were like, "Hey, yeah, watch YouTube and that Alex guy, love him," and so we're huge fans of him. But we're also glad that he can take some time off and enjoy. And hopefully everyone else can do the same thing as well.
Correct. Yeah.
Another question here. Any news on being able to have TS service take over from TSD proxy?
Mm,
Hmm, that's a great question. I think TSD proxy is a community project, I believe. Um, TS server takeover, potentially. I don't know. We don't have a lot of say on official, community projects that people write, there's also multiple ways to do things. The services piece that Tailscale is building natively within Tailscale for those that are new, haven't played with it. If you go into your Tailnet, you go on the services page there. It gives you the ability to proxy services running within your Tailnet. It's a really cool feature. So maybe you have, as an example, here at my house, I have a Synology back there in the corner, and I run a couple services off 443 or 8080 or 80 on my local area network. But instead of having Tailscale on each service or like a sidecar container, I can use the Tailscale service feature now and kind of proxy that through it, and it works, and it gets a TLS certificate, and it works really, really well in that instance. So I don't have any news on that if it's going to take over from TSD proxy, but definitely keep an eye out on our Discord community. If it is become something official or whatnot, we'll probably something in our change log. So if you go to tailscale.com/change log, you can see any kind of changes or releases around things like that.
Mhm. So I have a great question. How are you able to offer such an awesome tool for free? Thank you. Will always be free, and any paid premium functionality coming down the road. I assume this is for one of our personal users who, we really appreciate. Um, Yeah, I mean the as far as we know, of course this is up to the powers that be, but the personal plan will always be free. In terms of paid premium functionality, I think it kind of depends. We do have the personal plus plan, I believe, and those have some additional features. But yeah, any ideas that you may have or any particular features that you'd like to use in your home lab, please let us know. We'll do our best to like advocate, but no promises. But yeah, appreciate that.
And also on follow up on that, I think there's actually I'm trying to find out. I think we have a blog post written by our CEO that kind of talks about our free plan. I think it was back in April and how we're, keeping it free and, the whole premise of that. So definitely something that to follow up and get some insight on that for sure. Let's see here. Questions are coming in a lot. This is awesome. Let's see here. We got one from someone has a hard time routing traffic through a reverse proxy so that I can resolve my home lab's network address. Any tips on how to point traffic through my RPM? RPM, I'm assuming reverse proxy or Raspberry Pi. So it's kind of hard to tell from this aspect of it. If you could put Tailscale as I mean, one way you can use the proxy aspect of it, and I have not personally played a whole lot with our, setting up an actual true reverse proxy like TSD proxy or traffic or something in front of Tailscale. But if you can maybe use a subnet router and kind of break down the troubleshooting pieces there. So if it's resolving, can you ping? If the ping comes back, then all right, let's move it up to DNS. Can it resolve the DNS? And kind of break down the troubleshooting. Back in my old days when I was in production network engineering, we always started off with, can I ping X device? And then from there, we would kind of move up on the layer, start adding DNS, start checking ports and a few other pieces there. That might be something to check there as well. If you're a home labber as well and you're not on Discord, definitely drop that question, maybe some screenshots or on that line and, ask some questions with some of our folks on Discord that might other home labbers that might be in a similar instance as yours, similar use case that might have some things going on. You can also open up a support ticket. So we do offer support for our free users. Now, granted, it might take a little bit for our support team just to get back, just because they work in a queue and a prioritization. But we do offer support for our home lab and free users. So that might be something at the end of the day, if you're kind of banging your head against a wall, you can post a question there and see what happens.
On the vein of personal plans, someone is asking, I noticed that for the business plans, it looks like ACLs are cut down for the cheaper one, but what about the personal plans? ACLs aren't mentioned, so I didn't know if they were full or not. Um, I'll answer the question based on how I'm understanding it, but let me know if I'm answering a different question. Um, Yeah, so the home lab use case versus our business plan use case kind of cater two different things. And I think because they play in sort of different ecosystems and in terms of what's on the network and things like that. Um, I think it depends on what you're intending to do with ACLs. Alan, I don't know if you have additional thoughts on this one.
Yeah, on that one, there should be, I'm looking actually, if you go to tailscale.com/pricing and click the access tab, it drops you to a table of showing access control lists. They are fully available on the starter plans. Now, some of the restrictions with regards to the premium enterprise comes down to custom groups and individual users from a policy perspective. So if you're a business and you need a custom group, please, reach out to our team and we can, our sales team, they can and bring along the right sales engineer to solutions engineer to kind of talk through and maybe work through some of these. But the standard ACL policy should globally work, whether it's user to machine to machine, using tags, etc. You should not hopefully have any issues with those at all. But auto groups, there's one thing. So that's another thing. Someone's like, hey, but I had a custom group DevOps or a custom group home lab. The starter plan has what we call auto groups. And for those that, if you're not familiar with the auto group concept, anyone that joins Tailscale, there's a couple internal groups that are part of every Tailnet, like an auto group admin, so auto group owner, and then everyone who joins becomes auto group member. And so those are some of the groups that can be leveraged within the ACLs with some of our other plans. Let me see here. No questions on anything like, hey, what are you wishing for Christmas? I didn't have anyone ask that. So let's say, hey, what's on your Christmas wish list? I was, saying though, talking to my kids and my kids are teenagers and they're like, "Oh, we're in the bummer gift stage of life now because they're no longer little kids, so they get the fun toys. They're not full adults, so they don't get practical things." So I was teasing. I was like, "Oh yeah, you guys are just gonna get clothes and socks and
Mm,
things from school." And the look of horror on their faces of, well, that's not. It's like that's depressing. And
yeah.
so.
That's
So
funny that you say
hopefully everyone
that.
out there is gonna have a good Christmas breaks. Like I got a question here around that. Someone's got a
Mm,
Slate 7 travel router. And so for those that are looking for last minute gifts for nerds and IT geeks or people, those those GeoNet routers are amazing. So definitely recommend that if you're trying to figure out what's a Slate 7, look up those GeoNet routers. They're inexpensive. You can run Tailscale on them, and we'll answer this question. So the question that came is, I've got a Slate 7 travel router, mainly to leverage the built-in Tailscale app, which is super cool. Do I
mhm,
need to disable Tailscale on the connected devices? And if so, how to do I use Mulvad on, say, your laptop only? All right, so the cool thing about having the travel router or the GeoNets with Tailscale running on it, it just becomes another device in your network. So you can access, so it can operate in a few ways. You can use your Slate 7 as a subnet router and then turn off Tailscale on any of your devices connected to it behind the scenes. You can also leave the Tailscale running on those and just, Tailscale's on that router. It works great. You can access that router directly. So if you need to get to the admin panel, SSH into it, or do something that's outside of it, you've got direct. It's not going to affect the performance or anything if you have devices behind it running Tailscale. So in this case, you don't have to disable Tailscale on your connected devices. Recommend maybe just leave it connected. And if so, how do I use Mulvad on your laptop only? In that case, because I think those slates, it's been a little bit since I looked at mine. You can force the traffic to be full tunnel exit node out that. So it's great. Let's say you're traveling, you put your Slate 7 up, running Tailscale with a Mulvad exit node tied into that. You got someone within your house or visiting who fires up their laptop, joins your network, but they don't have Tailscale on it. So it will proxy that traffic through the Mulvad, exit node out and about. So you should be good to go on that piece there. But on your laptop itself, you can still operate it independently of the Slate 7 itself. Not a big deal, not a big issue on that for sure. Oh, Ella, there's a question for you and
okay.
me. What hardware powers your personal home labs?
Oh,
What do you have going on yours?
man. Okay. So I don't have a fancy setup yet. It's definitely on my winter break to-do list. I mean, I have all my mobile devices connected, right? So I have an Android phone, but I also have um what do you call these? iPhone mini. very old, but it helps me to kind of troubleshoot our, client re releases, versions, replicate a lot of our customer issues if they have any, or any kind of, yeah, like limitations. I have apps that are running locally that I use to like share across different devices, running on built on Django, Python. Yeah, kind of a more traditional setup, I would say, but definitely interested in trying to get my TV on there. See what cool things I can do there, and then yeah, just trying to get absolutely everything that I can. What about you, Alan?
So mine is, and as I've gotten older, stuff quote gets simplified. But although for those I can see, this is my office, also our gaming. So my work stuff is a Mac, work provided, couple monitors here. I've got one over here. I can see questions, and then my main one here with a camera, light, etc. Back here we have my gaming PC, my Windows 11 box, running Tailscale on it as well, but on my personal stuff. But it actually is helpful because we got customers that use Windows, so I can, quickly go over here and do some testing around that. Behind the PC on the floor, I have a Raspberry Pi that runs as a subnet router. It's a RP4, so I'm running that as a subnet router into my network. And then I also have a Synology DS224. I think that's it. So I've got Tailscale running on that. I got one or two VMs. The rest are running containers, and then Tailscale either proxy sidecar with an application on a container. So
Mm-hmm.
that's it from a home lab. I do have a Netgate PF firewall. It's unplugged right now because I switched internet service providers and I didn't want to have double firewalls, so I have it unplugged. I also have an Eero device as well that I'm doing some testing on. And these other PCs here are my kids. It's their gaming PCs as well, so they're not really part of the home lab. They don't run Tailscale, but since everything's kind of local. And the cool thing, and here's a tip for those that might be traveling and you're like, hey, I want to get to my Windows box and how do I access it remotely? Is using Wake on LAN over Tailscale. So this is a really cool. So let's say you're out and about, holidays, your PC's turned off, and you need to get to it. So there's two things you can do. Set Tailscale to run in unattended mode. So when it does boot up, it will automatically have Tailscale so you can access it through remote desktop or even SSH into your Windows box. But then you need a way to send a broadcast on LAN, a Wake on LAN packet, which operates. All right, we're going to get a little geeky here. Tailscale's layer 3. Wake on LAN operates, I believe, on the layer 2 area. So you need to have a Linux box or some sort of intermediary device that you can get to in order to send a Wake on LAN packet to. So I have my Raspberry Pi, which is always up and running because it's low power and it just sits there. I can SSH into my Raspberry Pi over my Telnet, send a Wake on LAN to my Windows box. It will then start booting up, and then after a minute or two, I can just RDP straight into that Windows box because Tailscale is running in unattended mode. So, yeah, that's the home lab setup. Nothing overly complex compared to for those that have been on here before. You've seen Jay's cool stuff he runs in his home lab, and some of our other folks here have some really neat, fun home labs for sure.
Yeah. I feel like it evolves over time. And I think one of the tail scalers, got like a vacuum on their tail net or something. Crazy
A couple
stuff.
years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's wild when I look like I don't have Apple TV, but I got a
Mm,
Vizio TV, which I don't know what OS it runs, but I don't Tailscale's not running on it. But it does ability to get into your home network, see things, lock things down, and experiment with stuff. I do a lot, even from the home lab, kind of staying on that thread is I'm on a Mac, so I use a lot of, virtual machines if I need to spin up something. We have the nice advantage, we have the ability to pull up machines on AWS or Azure or Google from a company perspective just to test and try to rebuild maybe what a customer might be struggling with, and we try to duplicate maybe an issue there. But locally, sometimes I'll just use Lima CTL on my Mac. It is a Ubuntu project, and it's a really quick way to spin up a local virtual machine. So if you're running a Mac operating system, you can run that and just run small, simple VMs within, Tailscale within your actually operating system itself and do some home lab work. If you're a Windows user, you can use WSL2 and actually put Tailscale on a WSL2 virtual machine. Now, granted, performance might not be the best, but it does work. It's we actually have some docs that out on our knowledge base to kind of tell you how to set up WSL2 with Tailscale. Let me see here. We get a few more other questions coming in. I have a Raspberry Pi, so talking on the Pi thread here, in a remote location, so I can access a remote device from a home PC. Both run Tailscale. It works. How do I set up access control so this is the only device I can access to save IP addresses? Ella, you want to take that one? You game for that one?
I'm not sure I'm understanding when it says I can access to save IP addresses.
I'm wondering if your concern is like, hey, will I run out of a Tailscale IP address? And let me give you some assurance that every telnet has the ability to have 4.1 million IP addresses. So it's a every telnet gets a slash 10 CIDR range, I believe it is. So you should not have, now, granted, if you want to set up access control so that way you can limit who can see that device, that's definitely a valid, but hopefully, at least from a saving IP address, shouldn't have to worry about that. If you want to run a clarifying question, drop it in our chat and then we can kind of go from there. But that, how you're accessing it, uh, sounds like it's working well. You're just trying to figure out best ways. If you also look on our site, in our ACLs, we have a whole page of ACL examples that kind of walk through different scenarios and use cases of leveraging grants and ACLs to manage access to your devices on your network. Let me see here. What else we got? Can you control access to a file share over ACLs? Yes, if you're using, do you know what it's called, Ella?
Tail dropout. No. Serve, I want to say.
Uh,
I could be
tail,
wrong. Oh
tail
my gosh.
drive.
Ah, yes, tail drive. That's what it's called.
So we have a feature. It's in alpha right now, and it's called Tail Drive. So if you go to our docs and do a search for Tail Drive, all one word, that allows you to create file shares over your tailnet. And the cool thing about that is you can now manage access to those file shares using the Telnet policy engine and locking it down that way. So it uses WebDAV, I believe it is. I had set it up a while ago on my Mac to my Windows box, and it was actually really cool being able to uh, access, or no, my Mac to my Synology, you know, these files there. The documents page does have the guides on how to do it, as well as even sharing permissions of setting that up. So that is how you would be able to control a file share. Now, if you're just using Tailscale from just a general, I'm on the network, but I'm still mapping like a 192, 168, or 172 IP, and that piece there, you could still control access to the end device and the ports that might be a user might be trying to get to with ACLs. But as far as managing a user name and password and permissions, Tailscale won't be able to, that rides in a higher level than where Tailscale operates. Ella, have you tried Tail Drive? Have you set that up in any of your stuff
Yeah.
yet?
I did. So earlier I was talking about how my Android phone, I have my Android phone, um, the camera quality unbeatable. And then I have my Mac computer, and sometimes if I want to like transfer files or videos or things like that, I used to go around like doing it the archaic way, which is upload it onto Discord and then you download it, but you lose pixels, you lose quality, all that good stuff. I use it actually for file sharing, and so I do it for that. I do it for other kinds of big files that I may want to put from one place to another, things like that. So I feel like for mixed ecosystems like that, it's very effective. Um, yeah,
That is awesome. Yeah, give it a whirl. If you guys are using it, let us know how it's working. For sure. Let's see what else we got here going on. Question: Tailscale services is great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I removed Caddy, Duck DNS, and Pi-hole redirects with it. I still have issues with cores needing access control allow origin. Can I redirect in Tailscale services? Hmm. I'm not 100% sure. I am not an expert on cores at all. I know cores is really can be wonky and tricky. Of that, you can look in our docs if we have anything around cores with that. Um, this might be a good community question to kind of ping in our Discord or even on Reddit or something like that, our Reddit slash Tailscale subreddit as well. But I have not done a whole ton of work with the cores side of the fence, so I'm not 100% sure
Mm.
how to best answer that question. Unless you have an idea on that one, Ella, from your
No,
side.
I do think it'd be great to post, as Alan said, either on Discord and Reddit, so that if we can follow up, that is an avenue for us too. Yeah, I'm interested to see what we'll learn from this.
For sure. Uh, Great question here. Why are devices behind CGNAT slow? And is there a workaround?
Mm, feel like we
What
get
do you
that time to time.
what do you think on that one?
Yeah, so Tailscale and I'll take my, first stab at this. So Tailscale addresses resolve to the like quad 100 address space, and sometimes that means we kind of coincide with some of the other 100 address spaces, and so there are workarounds, a couple actually. So if you search up like Tailscale and then CGNAT or troubleshooting guide, there's some workarounds that you can do with, whether you use like solely IPv, I think six, I want to say, but there are some caveats to that. But yes, there are workarounds. When you say slow, if there are other, symptoms or behaviors that you're seeing versus what you're expecting to see, that may also help us to have a better idea of sort of what you're experiencing. But yeah, Alan, I don't know if, there's anything that you want to add to that.
It kind of sounds like if someone's running behind a CGNAT, that they also might be getting indirect connections. And
Mm,
so if it's bouncing off one of our derp relay servers, that's also going to be performant because those are bandwidth capped, versus your native internet service or internet pipeline. If you're a home user and you're behind a CGNAT, sometimes you might be able to get a non-CGNAT IP address. So, for example, we have Lumos fiber here in South Carolina or T-Mobile now, and
mm,
it was all CGNAT. So when I got it, it was like 100 dot whatever. And I was like, I don't want to deal with this. So I called their support because I read on Reddit somewhere that, hey, if you call support, they might give you an IPv4 public. So I called them and they're like, oh, yeah, sure. Boom. And so within minutes, they drop and switch me to a public IPv4 address, no charge, which
wow.
is great. Doesn't mean in your instance they might charge, but that solved immediately, right? Any potential issues that I might have with routing through, CGNAT space or through a derp relay server because it's, going through NAT translation.
Mm,
So yeah, that would be a workaround is kind of troubleshooting those connectivity pieces like Ella mentioned and see if you can figure out if you're getting direct or relay or you know what kind of NAT's behind there and getting that resolved.
mm. So I guess
Another question.
maybe,
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
no, no, no. So maybe call for provider. Don't quote us on this. Yeah.
Yeah, another question coming up here. Hey guys, been having an issue where when I try to use tail drop, my Windows PCs with Tailscale is running don't show up, even though I can send to any other device from the PCs. Oh, what? So I had this issue a few months ago. Like tail drop was running on I mean my tail scale was running on my phone on my Windows 11. I was trying to tail drop to my from my PC to my phone or vice versa, and it was not showing up at all for some reason. Even rebooted, killed tail scale. Now, couple up, then I forgot about it, and then a few patches updates. In fact, I did it last night. I tail dropped an image across, and it worked, flawlessly, no issue at all. If you're not seeing it, check your client, make sure you're on the latest client. Secondly, make sure from go into your ACLs panels and then view your rules, and you can actually see if those devices can actually see one another. Taildrop's design where it's user-owned devices can only taildrop to other user-owned devices. So I cannot taildrop a document from my phone to Ella's phone because she owns her device, I own mine. But can drop it to my laptop or my iPad because I'm the owner of that. So could be a permissions issue on that. Check your version of Tailscale and see if we can kind of, figure it out from there. But if it seems like even though you say I can send to other devices from the PC, but not this one device, then it could be either ACL or maybe even a device firewall or something that's blocking it or overly restrictive. So that might help narrow it down as well.
Mm.
Another question here. When I set VPN on demand to do nothing on iPhones, it still connects. Why? Never means I always have to toggle that off when I do want to connect. Uh, you know what? I'm gonna look at my Tailnet because for those, the iPhone has the ability to have a, what do we call it? VPN on demand, which is a cool
Mm.
feature for iPhones. I don't know if Android phones have that capability, but if you're on an iPhone, there's in the Tailscale settings, there's a button that you can click on VPI on demand, and it gives you options where you can say, "Hey, if I'm on Wi-Fi, always connect automatically or cellular." So this person's saying, "Do nothing to do nothing." Let me see here. Always on, except on never or do nothing. I'm gonna set mine to do nothing. Connect automatically on Wi-Fi. It does nothing. Cellular does nothing. I'm not sure what the purpose of the do nothing piece there because there's always on, except on, never, and do nothing. And the question is, never means I always have to toggle that off when I do want to connect. That is correct. But what does the do nothing do? No, I'm not entirely too sure on that piece there, the do nothing. I've not messed with it. I use my VPN on demand. If I'm on my home Wi-Fi, it'll turn off most of the time. But then when I leave the house, then it will turn on. That's kind of my use case for it. But
Mm.
as far as okay, the do nothing, here it is. I'm reading in our docs. Do nothing means Tailscale will not automatically connect or disconnect, allowing you to manually manage the state of the VPN. I guess that's the same thing as actually toggling off the VPN on demand. So that's kind of my thoughts on that one.
Mm. This might have to be one of those, we'll try it and then let you know. But
Right? Figure.
yeah, but I mean, maybe post it on the community channel too, because maybe somebody else is running into this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have to charge up the old iPhone and
Yeah.
try this. Hmm.
Because I know like do nothing, you could set VPN on demand for do nothing, but if you want it to do nothing anyways, you don't even have to turn on VPN on demand. Just like turn the toggle off and it's just not going to work, period. So maybe that's a piece there. Yeah. Another question, moving on here. These are great questions. So everyone, thank you. Get me put on my thinking cap for some of these because they're use cases and scenarios that I don't know if you, Ella, have run into them that a whole lot. So it's interesting.
Mm.
Is it better to expose my local network to Tailscale or Docker network? Any speed differences, complication of setup, etc. Trying to figure out what you're trying to do with this.
Mm.
If you're running Docker containers, exposing your local network to Tailscale. Well, I will say speed differences. If you're on a local area network, exposing, I think, to one other, you're probably not going to really notice any speed differences for that. From a complication of setup, I'm not sure I fully understand what you're trying to accomplish this by exposing the local network to Tailscale or Docker network. If that's through a subnet router or having your Docker network be able to access devices outside the Docker network. So I'm not 100% sure, what you're trying to ask there. If you want to do a follow-up question on that one, please drop it in. Let's see. We'll continue on. For Tailscale services, back to the services question. Super cool. Do I have to serve each service every time I reboot that machine? My JSON config persists after reboot, but the services become unavailable in the admin console. So it's interesting. And Tim, I don't know if our market, there's a GitHub issue out there of something similar to this. I was just seeing a GIF or a screen recording of one of our customers that someone running a container unadvertises the services when it shuts down, and then they have to, and I think this was on a Synology, that is. So it sounds like if you're running on Synology, so I've got a Synology, and I think I did reboot it a couple weeks ago with an update, but my services came back up.
Mm,
So obviously the config persisted and my services on my home telnet are still working, but not becoming unavailable. So this could be an issue where, because services is considered beta right now, so it could be a regression. If it was working before, then it all of a sudden broke. That this might be something, what I recommend if you run a Tailscale debug, it gives you the ability to generate a debug information and open up a support ticket. That way, our support team can help triage this. And if there's other customers running into a similar issue, that helps our engineering staff figuring out, all right, we got more than one report. We've got three or four similar issues. Do we have a bug going on in our services platform, and kind of figure that out.
yep.
Can an ACL, another question here, ACL control a user or group access to a file share only? I can't get that to work for some reason.
Oh no. Um, can ACL control a user or group access to a file share only? With ACLs, you should be able to limit access as intended, but I'm interested in hearing like what the setup is and sort of when you say you can't get that to work for some reason, what behavior you're seeing. Um, I don't know, Alan, do you have any comments on this one?
If you're using tail drive, if you heard us talking about that earlier, then that is very specific on file share, so you can control it because that moves up to really more the application layer of the OSI model. But if you have a user that has access to a server, and then within that server are files and file folders, Tailscale itself is you can't use an ACL natively to manage access to that specific file folder, since that kind of evolves beyond the networking side of the fence. But like Ellen mentioned, you could manage it to that server, to that port, and control access. But if it's permission to a specific folder within a server, that kind of goes on the underlying operating system or management, password, or user management outside of that. But if this is of concern, maybe look at Tail Drive. So again, Tail Drive, the ability to share folders and folders within Tailscale using WebDAV, and then you can actually control permissions to those specific folders with Tailscale policies. So that could be an option there for you as well.
Mhm.
And another question here is, I received I'm assuming a static IP, and forwarded the port needed, 41641, that is correct, and it still does not connect properly. I have to use my Works backup fiber provider, and it does connect that way. So it sounds like you have double internet service provider at home, and your work backup one seems to work okay, but this other one has a static IP and you forwarded the port needed, does not connect properly. When you say connect properly, is it like indirect connection? You're going through the DERP relays. Like if you do a Tailscale ping of, let's say you have a device in a cloud provider in a data center somewhere, and does it route to that device directly, or does it only route through a DERP relay server? And if it only routes 100% through a derp relay server after 10 ping attempts, then definitely you're having that indirect connectivity issue. Um, yeah, it's hard to know without kind of seeing that from a troubleshooting side, but definitely there is a page. Let me see here if I can figure it out. Indirect versus direct. There is a knowledge base article where we have on our site where we call direct versus relay connectivity, I think it is. It's called a device connectivity. So if you search for a device connectivity page in our knowledge base, we talk about three types of connectivity like no NAT, easy NAT, hard NAT, and then there's even a little matrix table, which is super cool, being able to figure out, oh, I'm on this. Can I get to a direct connection or indirect connection? Uh, that's super helpful. And then there's some troubleshooting tips there using net check and a few other uh, Tailscale commands. So Tailscale space net check allows you to run some kind of troubleshooting connectivity stuff within Tailscale, and that can help with troubleshooting as well. Why
Interesting.
doesn't Funnel allow TCP ports? Do you know this one, Ella?
I don't.
I'm actually gonna have to look it up because I know it's limited on ports, but let me see what ports it does. I mean, it is TCP, does allow TCP ports, but it is
Mm,
limited on what port. So looking at our docs today, Tailscale Funnel operates on port 443,
yep.
8443, and 10,000. I have no idea
Mm,
why 10,000. It seems really random, but those are the three ports, probably because it's a high, well, that and 8443 are high level ports.
mm,
So Funnel gives you the ability to run a public facing website out of your tailnet. So if you're running a home lab like this and you have a meme page or a login or a photo album or you want to push something out so the whole world can see it, you can use Tailscale Funnel. Funnel is actually runs through proxy servers that are managed and controlled by us, by Tailscale, and it just takes those connections and routes through it. It's only TLS, so you get a Let's Encrypt certificate for that. It's only can be in your .ts, .net domain name, the tailnet, but it is only limited on specific ports, 443, 8443, and 10,000,
mm,
mainly designed for really user testing. You know, let's say I'm working here in my house and I'm building an application and I want to send it to our QA folks in Washington, D.C. or maybe California. Maybe they're not on Tailscale. So I can quickly do a Tailscale funnel and say, hey, this is running off my laptop. Here's a link to preview the application that I'm building, for you. Can you take a look at it? Serves it over, 443 or whatever. They can log in, they can see it, they can view it, should be good to go. And then I can remove it. It's not necessarily geared for production level access of, hey, let's have 5 million users hitting this, or, it might bring down our proxy servers. So that's one of the reasons why it's limited on that. I think to prevent abuse as well as limit some of the use cases around that.
mm,
If it is something very specific and you're a customer and say, hey, we're looking at buying Tailscale, but we need these features, let us know because those are feature requests or things that we can take back to our product team and say, hey, we've got these kind of use cases coming up from folks asking about it, and maybe we can help with that. Interesting. Another question here. Tailscale log and a control plane servers have been blocked by my ISP as they are now censoring VPN providers due to online safety laws passed in some US states and the United Kingdom. Is it possible to self-host login control that uses official Tailscale backend? Tried Tailscale, which works, but lacks features and polish of the official Tailscale service.
mm. A
The
great
answer
question.
Yeah, I think the answer, as you probably figured out, is a no on that one. Um, Headscale is great, but it's open source and it does lack a lot of the polish and the features of it. There is no, at least today, there is no capabilities of self-hosting a login control that mirrors the official Tailscale backend.
Hmm.
It's just, you know, our team that manages our control plane, I mean, literally, they're pushing out probably updates every day to that thing, sometimes multiple times a day. And so it's always being iterated on, fixes, features, things along that line. And Headscale being an open source product, gets the attention of the open source community and some folks here as time allows and everything. So, um, yeah, definitely kind of something that's kind of out of our control on that. And I'm sorry if you're facing that. It's frustrating, especially if you're seeing that. One thing we have seen though, sometimes is where we get Tailscale as being censored because it's a privacy VPN. A lot of times if you can even reach out to our security team, it's like security@tailscale.com or even our support team. A lot of times we're able to talk, at least with antivirus companies that false flag Tailscale. We can send them information saying, "Hey, look, Tailscale is not this. It's a remote connectivity tool. It's not trying to bypass, some law or skirt something along that line. Companies use it, businesses use it. That there might be some avenues that our team can potentially help communicating upstream from where you're at to maybe get some of these issues resolved."
Hmm. I have heard people running into issues where the ISP might block it. So it's worth seeing like, well, are you getting a, connection to begin with? I think that's also another thing to try for. I think the command for that might be tsdebug 2021, I want to say. But I'm sure it's in our docs. Yeah, but if not that, and you're just looking to self-host, unfortunately, not now, but maybe there'll be a workaround in the future. Yeah.
Now, these are great questions, everyone on the chat. Hopefully, this has been helpful. We got wow, look at the time. We're burning through it, but we still have a few more minutes. So get those last questions. Anything goes. Ask Ella her favorite food, her favorite
Korean skincare.
Tailscaler, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Let us know for
Yes.
sure.
One of the things that for those folks who are getting started, sometimes they use like kind of our core, I don't want to say core features, but kind of our beginning features, which are like the app connectors, exit nodes, subnet routers. If you ever have a question and you're like, exit node seems like the way to go versus like an app connector versus a subnet router, always feel free to reach out. I do see that we're getting some questions in, but TLDR is app connector is if you have like a third-party SaaS app or an internal app that you may want to sort of gate access and split tunnel to. That's what app connectors would be for. I've had a customer who wanted to go with an exit node thinking that it was what app connectors were doing. And there are some things with exit node like full tunneling, the egress, things like that, giving it a static IP, like that's what exit nodes could be used for. And subnet router, of course, is kind of more of the bridge between one area of a network that can't install Tailscale directly. Things for like site to site, all that kind of good stuff. So just want to put that out there for anybody getting started. Sometimes what you think may solve your problem may not be the exact or perfect solution. So then I think that's also a great, yeah, great drive to go to the community forums as well. Discord kind of ask like, hey, I'm looking to do X. How can I do this? That kind of stuff. Okay, we have a question. Yesterday, I was setting up a Minecraft server, and one of my friends wanted him to join, but he is not into this tech stuff. What would be easiest way I could do it? That is a great question. You can also consider setting it up for them, maybe. Or I think Alex might have a video on something like this on how to get started. So sometimes if people don't want to read through the docs, totally understandable. YouTube video might help. Alex or Alan, I don't know if you have any comments on
We,
that one.
I think we used to in our docs had like a set up a Minecraft server app, but if your friend is non-teching, you've got it all up and running. A way that's pretty painless is you can invite them. So if you have the Telnet already set up and running and everything going, go to your users panel set click the button that says invite external user and it'll generate a unique URL that you can email this friend and tell your friend, hey, click this, it's safe. It'll open up to the Tailscale login page where they can enter their credentials, their Gmail account or whatever the email you sent it to, and then they'll be able to join your Telnet automatically. Now, what they'll have to do is install the client, which they can pull off if the Apple Store or the Windows, I think off our downloads page, and they can just double click and install it like they would install any, Steam application, Minecraft, or anything else. But sending them an invite and then they can join your Telnet would probably be a really easy way. That way, when they're on Tailscale, they're part of your Telnet, and then they can play Minecraft.
Hmm.
And you're keeping your Minecraft server off the public internet. Yeah, my
Yes.
kids are like, "Hey, Dad, can we set up a Minecraft server so we can access it from school?" I'm like, "No, because you're supposed to be in school, not accessing Minecraft
I like
on the
that they
line."
still asked. I feel like we should have like a kind of like a ask an expert, but then invite, I don't know, so like our users or something to do a Minecraft server with the SE. And then have
That's
us just nah,
right.
just an idea.
Set it all up for sure.
Oh yeah, for
No.
sure.
Another question here. Is there anything on the roadmap to configure the Molvad integration to only work on certain domains, similar to how app connectors can be set up? Oh, that is interesting.
Mm.
Um, no, but system policies. Um, do you think this would be a good case, Ella, using system policies to force the usage of an exit node, but only limiting what exit nodes that they could use?
Yes.
I'm thinking that would be, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
Well,
policy called allow suggested exit nodes.
right.
Let me see here. And
But
you can list them.
I'm also interested in sort of what this use case is for.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe this
Only work on certain domains. That sounds interesting. Like,
mm,
oh, unless the question is they want them to use Molvad, but only to access certain domains. Like, I use Molvad
oh
only to get to Netflix. So
ah
if I want to watch Netflix in Australia, I use the
right.
Molvad Australia to get to the Netflix. So that's what I think
Yeah,
that's
I think that's what this means.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Not yet, but
yeah,
but but
maybe.
yeah, I mean we can if you want to submit it as like a feature request, I think our support avenue has one of those. But yeah, it'd be interesting to I'd be interested in understanding sort of what drove this question. Now if it's for Netflix, that's understandable.
Yeah,
Cool.
that is cool. Ah, here it is. Imgur is blocked in the UK, for example, so I want to use Molvad for this, but not for all my traffic. Ah, I see.
Uh Well,
And
so you should be able to select when you use the Molvat exit node. So,
or, or what if they set up an app connector just for Imgur, but they set up
ah,
the app connector in the US? Like, I don't know.
yeah,
And like set up a VM in Virginia in your
right.
backyard. You're right, Ella, they're right there. And then that app connector is routing traffic to Imgur.
Yeah,
And so when they go along the tailnet, they go to Imgur and it's looking like it's coming from that specific app connector, which will have
right.
a US based IP address.
Yes.
So try that. So that might work using an app connector. So an app connector, if you haven't played with it yet, allows you to proxy and route traffic, kind of like an exit node, but for specific domains.
Yep.
So this use case, that actually might be something on par with that.
Mm,
So,
create a
but looking at the
solution.
time, yeah. Um, and I think we are at time, folks.
Wow.
That's yeah, I haven't run one of these in a while. And Ella, this was your first one, right? So
Yeah, nerve-wracking.
yeah, you did awesome. Thank you, everyone. A lot of questions. Hopefully the answers were sufficient. Please follow up, reach out to us, and stay tuned. We run these Ask an Expert every couple weeks. With the holidays, things are probably a little bit off here, but check us out on Discord, on Reddit, Tailscale, as well. But if you have any questions, let us know. If you have any follow-ups to that, and want to talk to someone here, we're here for you. Thanks for being Tailscale users or fans, all the above, and we'll let Alex know how much you all miss them. And everything, so that he's not watching us now and enjoying some time off. But again, thank you all for your time today. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much.